This is the second video of the fourth class for social psychological perspectives on health. In the first video, I talked about how people choose a category to define themselves, and then also how they know what kind of values and norms are important to become a member of the group. And then I talked about prototypicality. I talked that prototypicality is an important concept that tells individuals to know what kind of norms and values are important in the group. So basically, they look for prototypical persons to learn what kind of norms and values they should internalize. And then to the extent that they define themselves in terms of that identity, they are more likely to influence each other. And then also to the extent that they identify with that group, they will be perceived as more representative of that group. And I also explained that not just one group, but if you belong to multiple groups, you are more likely to become healthier and have better well-being. There is the multiple identities hypothesis. And then also I talked about whether social identities can be provided or not. So depending on how programs or training or services are structured, you may become a recipient of such service or training. You as an individual, you may receive such training or service as an individual, or you may become a member of the group who uh, enjoy the benefit of not only the training and the services, but of the identity. Okay. So depending on how the company or program or services or training are structured, you could develop social identity of that group, of that program, or yeah. And then through developing the social identities and through becoming a member of that group, you can obtain the benefits that social identities can provide. And in this video, I will further explain the psychological resources that result from shared social identity. And there are four kinds of psychological resources that shared social identity can provide. The first one is connectedness and positive orientation to others. The second one is meaning, purpose, and worth. The third one is social support. And the fourth one is control, efficacy, and power. So let me explain one by one. The first one is connectedness and positive orientation to others. This is the sense that one is psychologically close to and connected with others. So from social identity perspective, this means that others become someone who are different from the self to who are part of the self. So by becoming a member of the group and by identifying with that group, someone who are different from the self is actually someone who are part of the self because you now have a social identity, an identity that defines yourself as a part of the group. So another person is also the part of your social identity. So they are no longer a stranger, but a part of the self. And then there is a research showing that a sense of connection has profound implications for health. So people who experience a sense of connection more tend to be healthier. And this shared social identity can give this sense of connection. People also become open and receptive to others when seeing others in terms of shared social identity. And then, so basically, they are more likely to like others, trust others, and they are more likely to have a desire for mutual communication and contact when they see others in terms of shared social identity rather than as an individual or as a member of the other groups. So there is also other research showing that the more they like others and trust others and then having contact with others, they're more likely to healthier, more likely to be healthier. And then there's also interesting research, like even in minimal group context, viewing others more positively and trustworthy. So even in minimal group context, people view others, like other in-group members, more positively and trustworthy. And they are more likely to respond more positively to their communication. So even though there's no interdependence between groups and there's no mutual attraction between groups in a minimal group, still, if they perceive others as a group member, then they're more likely to see them trustworthy and they would respond more positively to their communication. So these arguments can be formalized as hypothesis 12, the connection hypothesis, when and to the extent that people define themselves in terms of shared social identity, they will be more likely to perceive themselves as similar and connected and to be positively oriented towards each other, like trusting each other. Okay. Another psychological resources that shared social identities can provide is meaning, purpose, and worth. Groups tend to be formed to work towards particular collective outcomes, like a company, a company is formed to create profit. So groups usually have uh, purpose to create particular outcomes. So this gives a sense of common direction and purpose to the members of the groups, and their contribution to common goals would be valued by other in-group members, and they would see their efforts worthy and worthwhile. So let's imagine in a situation where you put so much effort for your own benefit, and then maybe somebody who like you so much would appreciate your effort or may say something positive about your effort, but the extent that your effort would be valued would be so much different if you work for the interest of the group. Then other members in that group are going to value your efforts much more and then see your efforts as much more worthy and worthwhile. So how much your effort is noticed and appreciated will be so much different depending on whether you are working as a group member or as an individual. So hypothesis 13, the meaning hypothesis. When and to the extent that people define themselves in terms of shared social identity, that identity will focus their energies and imbue them with a sense of meaning, purpose, and worth. And of course, you can, I think, easily imagine that having meaning in a life, having purpose in a life, and then being valued by others have so much impact on your health and well-being. If you don't have meaning, if you don't have purpose in your life, then you may feel meaningless or valueless your life is. All right? But by belonging to a group and by having a shared social identity, you can obtain meaning and purpose, and then other group members perceive you as more worthy. And such perception and such sense of meaning and purpose give you more rewarding life. Next, the third one that shared social identity can provide is social support. A shared social identity motivates people with that membership to help each other. This helps to advance interest of the social identity. So, like a company, people of a group usually come together to advance the interest of their groups. Like a company workers are there to create the profit of the company and then divide such profit among the members. So because they have a collective interest, they are more likely to help each other. So by being a member of the group and by identifying with that group, they are more motivated to give social support each other. And providing help is more likely because others are part of the self and identity is one's own identity. So if other is just a stranger, or if you don't define yourself as a member of a group, then others is not uh others is not you, that's obvious. But if you identify with a group and if you categorize you and others as a in-group members, then helping others is related to own welfare because others is not others anymore, but others are us, self. Okay? So shared social identities makes others change others to us. And then because of such change, people are more likely to give support. And then providing support to others is not just all altruistic motivation based on altruistic motivation, but it's more like self-interested behavior because helping others is really helping us. Okay. And there's an interesting study which shows that when a Liverpool supporter tripped over, Manchester United fans are more likely to look away or pretend not to notice. So, Liverpool supporter and the Manchester United fans, they belong to different groups. So basically, there is an intergroup relation here. And then when Manchester United fans tripped over, then Manchester United fans are more likely to provide support to them compared to when a Liverpool supporter tripped over. Yeah, just because of the shirt that they wear, they change how they provide support, how they provide help to others. And this study replicated the result by having someone wear having someone who wear uh, not like any soccer team shirt, okay, so that they don't appear to support any team. And again, if someone who do not wear a soccer team shirt tripped over, Manchester United fans are more likely to look away or pretend not to notice. Okay. And then there's also another research showing that British people are more likely to donate money to support disaster relief support disaster relief for European country when they define themselves as a European compared to British. So this means that uh, when there's a disaster in a European country and when they define themselves as Europeans, then they perceive that disaster as something happened in their own country or their Europe, you know. But when they define themselves as as British people, and when the disaster happens in a European country, then the disaster is perceived as something happened in other countries. So when they define themselves as European, they are more likely to provide support because that's for their own that's basically supporting themselves, Europeans, same Europeans. But when they define themselves as British, then they see the desert relief as for someone different from them. Okay? So if you share social identity, then you are more likely to provide support, and that happens even on international levels. Okay? So hypothesis 14, the support hypothesis. When and to the extent that people define themselves in terms of shared social identity, they will expect to give each other support and actually give each other support and construe the support they receive more positive. So interesting, another finding is that when victims of the disaster perceive themselves as, for example, Greek rather than as Europeans, then they are more likely to perceive the support from other countries as they're more likely to perceive the support from other countries negatively compared to when the Greek people define themselves as European. So not only uh, not just how people define themselves influence how whether they provide support or not, but the way they define themselves also change the perception of support they receive from others. Okay, so this is why when they share social identity, then they are more likely to provide support and receive the support positively. Okay. So basically, the more you give support and then the more you receive support positively, then you should have better health or at least have higher well-being, right? So this is again why having shared social identity is really important for your health and well-being. The last one is control, efficacy, and power. Being a part of group furnishes people with a sense of control. A sense of control means that being in charge of their destiny, having power in the world. So let's think of two situations. One, you feel that you have power to decide what you do in your life. And, and then the other situation is you feel powerless to decide what you do in your future. And then basically you can only follow the orders from others to whatever you do in your life. In which situation you may feel you may experience higher well-being? I guess the answer is very clear. If you feel that you have power, right to decide what you do in your life, then you would more likely to experience higher well-being than when you feel powerless to decide your own life. And the point here is that just being a part of group actually gives you a sense of control. Social identity creates a sense that one is actively making one's own history. And this is because, as an individual, you may feel powerless. But if you found that other people are actually making changes, then you are more likely to feel that maybe you also can make changes in your life. And then if someone is making changes as a member of a group, then such change actually helps you actually such changes is also give you something positive changes in your life. And such kind of support from others also give you a power to make a further changes, make further changes. Okay. So I think I will also talk again about this in later lectures. And the sense of control is known as one of the six pillars of life satisfaction. So as I said, people who feel that they have power to determine what to do in their life tend to have higher life satisfactions. This is because, basically they decide what they do in their life. They are more likely to be satisfied with their decisions, even if the outcome is not so good. Okay. So, hypothesis 15, the agency hypothesis. When and to the extent that people define themselves in terms of shared social identity, they will develop a sense of efficacy, agency, and power. So, to summarize, key resources that flow from shared social identity, connection, positive orientation to others. This is known to be related to health, and then connection makes people feel more supported and safer. Another key resource is meaning, purpose, and worth. Knowing why or what they live for and their values give them better well-being. Effective social support. More support by having shared social identity, they can have more support, and not just having more support, but they can see them more positively. And this should help people to have better well-being. And the last key resource that flow from shared social identity is control, efficacy, and power. And these lead to higher life satisfaction and thus better well-being. Before I finish today's lecture, I'd like to make it clear that not not belonging to groups is equal to having a social identity. And having a social identity is not equal to health. So when groups as a whole fail, or groups are stigmatized, or develop destructive norms that damage your health, then it is unlikely to achieve health. So it's not just any groups, but it's a group that gives you positive identity. Is the one that makes you healthy. Okay. And also when individuals cannot achieve social identification. So simply belonging to groups does not guarantee social identification, an internalized state of a group membership as a part of self. So you need to actively identify with that group in order to enjoy the benefits of shared social identity. And there are several cases when it is hard for individuals to develop social identification, but some of them is when the groups they belong are marginalized. So basically, when the groups are stigmatized, it's very difficult for the individuals to identify with the group, or maybe when they belong to multiple groups that have conflicting norms. So as I said before, groups needs to be compatible, meaning that the norms should be in concert with the norms that other groups have. And when they are in conflict, it will be very difficult for them to develop internalized state of a group membership. Okay, so after all, it's not so much about whether you belong to groups or not, but whether you see the group as a part of yourself and whether you can obtain identity through the membership of the group, and also whether the groups give you positive identity. And if the groups give positive identity, and then if you identify with the group, then you can enjoy the benefits that shared social identity provide. Okay, so I think that's enough for today's class. And also, I think this is the end of chapter 2. So from next class, I will talk more about some examples of actual studies showing how social identity and social identities are related to our health. But I guess I also talk about how other approach, like social approaches, are related to health, and then they're limited in terms of explaining how they are related to health, and then their differences with social identity approaches. Okay, thank you very much.